Imagine a locked room mystery. A man vanishes without a trace. 5 days later, he reappears on top of a 12-foot high pile of coal. He's dressed in a suit, but his shirt is missing. His watch is gone, and his wallet is gone. He has been dead for only a few hours. But here is the riddle. For the 5 days he was missing, he had only 1 day's worth of beard growth. And the man who found him, a police constable, would have his own inexplicable encounter just 6 months later at the very same spot. This is the case of Zygmunt Adamski, a puzzle that begins as a missing person report and ends as one of Britain's most profound and terrifying unexplained mysteries. Our story begins on June 6, 1980, in the small village of Tingley, near Wakefield, England. Zygmunt Adamski, a 56-year-old Polish miner, was getting ready to attend a family wedding. He was a man of routine, known for his gentle nature. He wasn't a wanderer, he had no known enemies, and no history of depression. That afternoon, he left his home to walk to the local shop to buy some potatoes. He told his wife he'd be back in a few minutes. He never returned. The police were called, and a massive search began. Friends, family, and neighbors combed the area, but Zygmunt Adamski had vanished from the face of the earth. For 5 days, there was nothing. No sightings, no ransom notes, no clues. It was as if he had stepped out for potatoes and simply ceased to exist. The family was distraught, fearing the worst. But the truth of where he was found would be far stranger and far more disturbing than anything they could have imagined. On June 11th, 5 days after he disappeared, a man named Trevor Parker, the son of the owner of a coal yard in the nearby town of Todmorden, discovered something unusual. Atop a 12-foot high pile of coal, a man was lying face up, as if he had been gently placed there. Parker called the police. The police constable who arrived on the scene was a man named Alan Godfrey. What he found made no sense. The body was identified as Zygmunt Adamski. He was wearing his suit, trousers, and jacket, but his shirt was missing. So were his watch and wallet. His clothes were, according to Godfrey, almost immaculately clean, despite lying on a pile of filthy coal. There were no tracks on the coal pile, no sign of a struggle. The post-mortem examination, conducted by coroner Dr. James Turnbull, only deepened the mystery. Adamski had died of a heart attack between 3 and 4 p.m. that afternoon. This meant he had been alive for almost the entire 5 days he was missing. Yet, he only had 1 day's growth of beard. Where had he been, and who shaved him a day before he died? The coroner found another inexplicable detail. On the back of Adamski's head, neck, and shoulders were bizarre burn marks. Dr. Turnbull described them as being consistent with an injury from a larger object, as if he'd been struck by a washer or a ring. But most peculiar was the ointment that had been applied to the burns. The forensic lab could not identify it. It was a substance unknown to them. The coroner, a man of science and logic, was so baffled by the circumstances that he declared it the most mysterious death he had ever investigated in his entire career. He couldn't explain the missing time, the clean clothes, the strange burns, or the unidentified gel. But the story was about to take an even stranger turn. 6 months later, in November 1980, PC Alan Godfrey was on patrol. He was called to investigate reports of cattle wandering in a residential street near the very same Todmorden coal yard where Adamski's body was found. As he drove, he saw a bright light ahead. He described it as a large, diamond-shaped object about 20 feet wide and 14 feet high, hovering silently over the road. His police radio went dead. He tried to call for backup, but nothing worked. He sketched the object in his notepad. Then, a brilliant flash of white light, and he was suddenly driving his car again, 30 yards further down the road. The object was gone, and he had lost approximately 25 minutes of time. Under hypnosis, Godfrey recalled a terrifying scene. He claimed the light had stopped his car, filled it with light, and that small, strange beings had taken him aboard their craft. He also claimed to have seen a human man on the craft with them, bearded and dressed in check trousers. His name, they told him, was Joseph. Some researchers have speculated this could have been another abductee, or even a confused reference to Zygmunt himself. Was there a connection? PC Godfrey never claimed one, but the coincidence is staggering. The man who finds a body with all the hallmarks of a possible abduction is then seemingly abducted himself, just months later in the same small area. The case of Zygmunt Adamski remains officially unsolved. Was he kidnapped by people unknown, held for 5 days, and then killed? If so, why were the circumstances so bizarre? Why was he fed and cared for, only to be left on a coal pile? Or did he stumble into something beyond our understanding? A phenomenon that took him, studied him, and returned him, only for his heart to give out from the sheer terror of the experience. We are left with a man who walked out for potatoes and vanished from a world he knew, only to be returned with a story written on his body that no one can read. A riddle sealed by a locked room of missing time. Some mysteries are written in the stars, while others are buried deep in the earth. If the riddle of Zygmunt Adamski intrigued you, wait until you explore the chilling mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident, where 9 experienced hikers met a terrifying and inexplicable end in the Ural Mountains.